Hey guys, I'm here today with a guide on how to play Mistweaver monks in a PvE or raid setting in Worlds of Draenor patch 6.2.3. In this video I'll be going over talents and glyphs, abilities you should be using, gearing and stat priority, how to heal, your healing priority or rotation, and some add-ons and or macros that I use and could help you out. Let's go ahead and start by taking a look at the talents and glyphs you should be using first. In the first tier, you can use either Celerity or Tiger's Lust. If you use Chi Torpedo later down here in this talent, you can go ahead and use Celerity for movement, and what it does is it gives you an extra roll, which is an ability that lets you move forward. A lot of people though in general, especially if you don't take Chi Torpedo, will take Tiger's Lust. It gives you an on-use movement speed burst and removes a snare or root, which can be useful in certain fights like Iron Reaver if someone gets hit by the oil slick she puts down in the air phase. Momentum, this third talent here, doesn't really do as much as the other two. It's basically the same as Celerity, that it affects your roll, but it just gives you small movement, a speed boost, and an extra roll, or an on-demand big speed boost tends to be a little bit better. So I advise going either Celerity if you go Chi Torpedo, or Tiger's Lust if you don't. And for the second tier of talents, I generally use Chi Burst for raids. It gives you the best AoE heal if your group is in a line, and it's really nice burst heal. If you're in a smaller group or like a dungeon, you can go Chi Wave, which bounces and does a little healing and damage. Takes a little time, a little less reliable, but it gives you a shorter cooldown and fire and forget. You don't have to aim it or anything. But Chi Burst does give you a nice little burst, even in a small group, and it does a decent amount instantly, whereas this bounces. And can help in healing up, say, on Archimond, when you use a Shadowfell Burst and a bunch of people run into Soak. As soon as it lands, you can Chi Burst, heal a bunch, just as the damage comes out, and it's really nice. Zen Sphere, it's got a really weak heal over time, and then it explodes after 16 seconds, or when the target drops below 35% health. It's not really that useful unless the target is always dropping below 35% health, which doesn't really happen that often. I suppose in progression on a tank that's pretty useful, and it also would require the raid to be stacked up for that while the one target's taking a lot of damage. So generally it doesn't really happen in Hellfire, so Hellfire Citadel, so I wouldn't recommend using this. So generally Chi Burst, it's going to be a go-to. It's got a cast time, you just point it in a direction and it shoots off, like so. Alright, in the third tier of talents, you got some freedom of choice here, a little leeway. In general, Power Strikes is going to be recommended. It's generally the best. It gives you extra chi every time you use certain spells. You see here, and we'll get to these, but the ones that for healing that you'll be looking at is when you expel harm or surging mist, you'll get 2 chi instead of 1. And it's got a 15-second cooldown, and it just passively gives you extra chi, so you just keep doing your healing and you'll get extra chi now and then that you can use for spells. And if you go over, say you're already at 4 chi and you use the spell, or you're at 3 chi and you use a spell that gives you 2, it'll put that extra sphere on the ground. You can just run over it and get an extra chi later. The other option you can use is really good is Chi Brew. It's a 1-minute cooldown, but it's got 2 charges. And it also gives you a stack of mana tea, which we'll get to later, but it's basically your mana regen. And it can be used for like a mini burst, which can be really nice, depending, or if you want to just generate more stacks of mana to help regen. So either if you need more mana on demand, or if you need a little mini burst, like a mini small cooldown, Chi Brew can be good too. Ascension's not really that great. You can work it, but all it does is it gives you an extra chi spot. The energy regen isn't that relevant when you're healing, and the spirit is not that relevant, and you're better off if you need mana going Chi Brew. So Power Strikes by default. If you want a little extra burst, on demand cooldown, you can use Chi Brew. And your tier 4 talents, this is just a CC tier. Not that important. Just kind of depends on your preference. If you need a stun though, leg sweep generally the best. If you're not that comfortable getting into melee range to use leg sweep, then use Charging Oxwave. It's shorter stun, shorter cooldown, but it goes in a straight line. Leg sweep is generally going to be the one you go with, and Ring of Peace is just not useful at all. Okay, in the 5th tier talents, you have your personal defensives. Healing elixirs, not the best. Generally, I would recommend one of these other two. Basically, healing elixirs, every time you use a brew or tea, it heals you, or when you drop below a certain health percentage, but in general, giving up one of these two big cooldowns on a 1.5 minute cooldown is just not worth it. So these two are on-demand defensives you can use to mitigate or survive raid mechanics, like Reign of Chaos on Archimons when the Infernals are dropping, or Sound Fellows Cocoon if people are letting seeds hit pillars. Diffuse magic can completely mitigate your chances of dying. Based on dampen harm, it reduces damage by 50% from the next 3 attacks that happen that hit you for more than 15% in one hit. And then diffuse magic reduces magic you take by 90% for 6 seconds. So depending on the type of damage you're taking in the fight, just change talents. Okay. In your 6th tier, Rushing Jadewind's got your best AoE healing output. It is really expensive though. You see it's 20,000 mana. That is a good chunk of your 160. So if you can't manage your mana or you're like too undergeared, then you can use Chi Torpedo instead, which is again replaces your roll and it makes your roll go further and heal people in its path. You can jump a couple different ways to control how far you go with this. So you see, if you just press the button, it sends you about that far, and sometimes that'll put you out of position in a fight. You don't want that. So what you can do is you can either, if you want to go like a medium distance, you jump first and then press it, and it goes a little shorter. Or you press Chi Torpedo and then jump right away, and then you go nowhere. Right? And you can turn around and do it again if you need to. So that's how you can use Chi Torpedo. So either regular, I'm waiting for it to recharge a little bit here. You can go jump and kind of go medium distance, or you can press it and then jump right away, and you go nowhere. Generally, it's only if you need to not, if you want to use Celerity with like a bunch of rolls for movement, or you don't have enough mana to use Rushing Jadewind. Invokes Yuen, the White Tiger, is just for damage and is not really that useful, unless you want to do that later, and we'll go into Fistweaving in a bit. And in the last tier of talents, you pretty much always go Pool of Mists, right here. And what it does is it gives you 3 charges on your Renewing Mist, and increases the healing it does, and then a Rising Sun Kick we will get to, but that's for Fistweaving. This is really good because Renewing Mist, as we'll get to in a bit, is kind of your bread and butter as a Mistweaver. So getting 2 extra charges on it is really, really helpful and making it heal more. Breath of the Serpent here, it's a 1.5 minute cooldown. It procs off your statue and you use it and it heals at you. It's an okay cooldown, does a decent amount of healing, but the range is kind of short and the cooldown doesn't really line up that often with a lot of mechanics. Plus you're giving up such a good healing boost. Chi Explosion, generally just useful if you're Fistweaving, and only in that situation in certain situations, like not all the time. So even then, for more damage during Fistweaving, Pool of Mist is better. And Chi Explosion just if you want to heal more in Fistweaving, which is kind of weird because it doesn't heal that much. So in general, Pool of Mists. Alright, now let's go ahead and take a look at the glyphs. For glyphs, the only mandatory one you gotta have is Glyph of Renewing Mist. And what it does is just increases the range that it can jump when it jumps from people by 20 yards. That makes it much more useful in fights where you're spread out, and that happens quite often. If you don't have this, it could start jumping to people that don't really need it as much, just because it can't reach the ones that do. If you have a spare slot, you can go ahead and take Glyph of Targeted Expulsion, right here. And what that does is Expel Harm, which is an ability you can use. We'll go over that in a bit. That normally just heals you and then does damage. This glyph allows you to use it on one of your allies, but the healing is cut in half on them. This is another way, it's another extra heal, small heal you can use, and it builds chi, so good to have if you have an extra slot. Um, okay, and then you also have Glyph of Soothing Mist, which is what I have here. And what this does is while you're channeling Soothing Mist, which is your channeled spell, after you stop channeling it, it gives you a little movement speed for a couple seconds, depending on how long you channeled, and it's just another movement. It's not mandatory because you already have rolls and Tiger Lust if you took that talent to move, but it's just another, spammable way of getting a little movement speed now and then when you have to move. And then you've got Glyph of Touch of Death. It's possible if you want to use that when you don't want to manage extra, like building up chi for that. Not your biggest priority anyway as a healer to be doing damage, but what it does is it increases the cooldown and removes the chi cost. So if you only want to use it once a fight, this would be the way to go if you don't want to manage that, but in general, not really that useful. Okay, we've got Glyph of Detoxing, which changes your Dispel into a 2-charge system, but a slightly longer cooldown. And it's basically useful in fights where you have to Dispel constantly. An example in Hellfire would be Sakrathar the Eternal. In the second phase, as he pulls out, start putting a lot of debuffs on people, and it really helps, especially if you don't have that many healers, to have this glyph, so you can spell more often. It's pretty much the only glyph I can think, or the only fight that this glyph is really, really useful on. Other glyphs don't really help that much with raiding, and the minor glyphs, of course, anything that you want to use is totally up to you. They are completely cosmetic. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look now at the abilities you'll be using to heal. I'll get into the abilities and how to Fistweave at the end of the video. So for now, I'm just going to focus on the standard healing spells. First, make sure you're in stance of the Wise Serpent, which is the stance that lets you heal more and use certain spells for your general healing. The stance of the Spirited Crane over here is for Fistweaving, so just ignore that for now. Alright, your first and most important spell is Renewing Mist, which is a hot you put on an ally. And it does a small amount of healing. It starts with 3 stacks, and then every time it ticks, it jumps to a new target. Every time you cast it, it gives you 1 chi, which is a resource you'll use for another spell. And the last stack on the third person, so once it's jumped twice from the first to the second, and then from the second person to the third, it'll just stay there until it expires. It won't jump anymore. It doesn't actually heal that much, even though you do buff it, of course, with Pull of Mists. But what it is it's a prerequisite for using your big AoE heal uplift later. So, then that costs 2 chi, the uplift. So you're both building chi to use that, and you're spreading the heart, which allows you to use it. Yeah. And then we got next you've got your Dispel that we were talking about, Detox. And that just removes all magic, poison, and disease effects on your friendly target. Pretty simple. It is your Mistweaver Dispel. Now let's move over to Uplift, and Uplift is your big AoE heal. It heals everyone who has one of your Renewing Mist hots on them for a good amount. This says 14k. And it hits them no matter where they are. It doesn't really have like a range on it, so it's really good. Once you get your Renewing Mist rolling, it's how you heal big raid damage. You also get Soothing Mist, which is your channeled spell, and it just heals one person that you channel on, and then allows you to do some other cool stuff, which we'll get to. And we've got Surging Mist, which is kind of like your quick, expensive heal. It's a single target, eats your mana up pretty hard, but it generates 1 chi every time you cast it, so you will be using it a fair amount. Then we've got Enveloping Mist. It's a big hot. It costs 3 chi, and it increases the healing that this channel that we just went over, Soothing Mist, does by a fair amount, 30%. So you kind of use them in conjunction, do a lot of single target healing. And then we've got Expel Harm, right, which we talked about earlier. Expel Harm heals yourself, and then it does a little damage. It generates 1 chi, and if you glyph it, you can use it on someone else instead to heal a little less. But if you don't need healing, it's really good to have that option. Okay. As far as a small cooldown, we've got Thunder Focus Tea right here. On a 45-second cooldown, it doubles. It buffs one of your 2 spells. It either buffs the Surging Mist or your Renewing Mist. For Surging Mist, if you use it on that, it doubles the healing it does the next time you cast it. And if you use it on Renewing Mist, instead of 3 stacks, it starts with 5 stacks. You also got this Jade Serpent statue, which you should just have at the beginning of the fight, and we'll go over that. You just put it on the ground and then let it do its thing. You don't really manage that too much. It casts Soothing Mist when you do, so I cast Soothing Mist and you see it is casting it on me as well, so I have 2 of these Soothing Mists on me. But the target it chooses is completely random, so you have no control over what it does, other than where you move it. And you've got Mana Tea here, and Mana Tea, you'll build stacks by spending Chi, and then it's your regen talent, or your skill rather. So you use it when you need mana, and it's just a channeled spell. Alright, and then we've got your buff spell, Legacy of the Emperor, which buffs stats, your main stats, Strength, Agility, and Intellect for your raid, so use it if you need to in the raid group, buff people up. And as far as cooldowns go, we've got Life Cocoon, which is a big bubble, right? And you put it on someone, and it's 230k, so really big, and it also increases the hot healing, the hots that you put on by 50%. By everyone. So if you have like Resto Druids or other Mistweavers in, it's really, really helpful. Really big cooldown. And it's got a cooldown of 1 minute and 40 seconds. So it's pretty short. It's normally 2 minutes, but because of the Draenor perk, it's 1 minute and 40. Then we've got Revival, which is a raid-wide heal. 3 minute cooldown, really big, heals everyone within 40 yards for a crap ton, and it basically applies your detox. It dispels the same things, all the magic, poison, and disease effects on everyone. Really useful, really, really good. It's definitely one of the big instant raid cooldowns. Then you've got, for your own personals, you've got Fortifying Brew here, which increases your health by 20%, and also reduces the damage you take by 20% on 3 minute cooldown. And of course you've got your tier talent, Dampen Harm, or Diffuse Magic, depending on what you picked. And that's it for your defensives. For CC, you've got Paralysis. It's kind of like a rogue sap. It just incapacitates something. It's pretty short range, short cooldown, 15 seconds. Holds them for a minute, breaks on damage. Pretty simple. You also get to choose your CC talent, of course. Your stuns, Leg Sweep or Charging Ox Wave. And then you get Spearhand Strike, which is your melee interrupt. And you can use that, if your raid needs another interrupt on something, like Iskar if you have the Eye, or anything like if you need extra interrupts on Imps, on Zul'Horak, or Archimons with the Overfiends, things like that. Right, and then you also get Nimble Brew, which is not a CC but a CC break, and it just removes all your roots, stuns, fears, and horror effects, which can be useful on a fight like Manaroth, for example, where you actually get horrified if you get picked by Manaroth's gaze. So, definitely useful to have. Okay, now we've got movement spells, of course, like Roll, which right now for me is Chi Torpedo because I took that talent. And that just, again, you press it and you move forward. So it helps you get out of mechanics, like grab mechanics, fire, directed attacks like Barrage and Iron Reaver, things like that. You also have Transcendence and Transcendence Transfer, which is like a teleport. So you put down Transcendence, and then if you cast Transfer, you teleport there. And then as you see, the one thing is you do move your teleport to wherever you came from. And so you can replace, if you want, you can leave it there, or you can replace it again. Okay? And that can help you get out of certain mechanics if you know you want, oh, I know something's going to come here, and I want to get out of it. I don't really use it that often, but it's there if you want to. And there's a bunch of spells you don't generally use, like Detonate Chi, just not worth using in raid generally. Crackling Jade Lightning for DPS, but doesn't do that much anymore. But if you want to do a little ranged DPS, you could use it. And then Resuscitate is your revive spell. Of course, you can only use it outside of combat, so not useful in a fight. And the Spinning Crane Kick, not that useful if you leave it like this. It just does a little damage, or does a little healing, and if you hit 3 people with it, you generate a Chi. If you do take Rushing Jadewind though, it does replace that, and that makes it worth using in a high damage phase. Okay. Touch of Death, of course, is the damage move. You can use it as a healer. to do a little extra damage, but again, it's not really your priority as a heal, so kind of don't use that too often, or don't worry about it too often. Alright, next let's go ahead and take a look at gearing and stat priority for Mistweaver monks. For stats, multi-strike is your best by far. It's a stat you want to go after all the time. And the reason is, along with the hots, of course you have a jumping hot, so that means multi-strike is nice because it keeps ticking extra times. But I'm looking for it. There's a passive, a Jade Mist, I think. Yes, so when you multi-strike with your Renewing Mist and or Rising Sun Kick, which we'll get to later, there's a chance that you don't take one of the charges. So basically, if you get lucky, the higher your multi-strike chances, the more chances you get of getting basically a free stack of Renewing Mist, which is really good because that means you can apply another stack for free. That'll jump to 2 more people and cover 3 people. It's really, really good. Alright, next is Critical Strike, which of course boosts your heals by doubling, having the chance to double your heals. And it also, when you gain chi for Mana Tea, when you gain Mana Tea stacks, when you spend chi, there's a chance that, based on your crit chance, that you get 2 stacks instead of 1. So, really good for regen, which is actually why you don't need to worry about Spirit all that much as a Mistweaver monk. Even though it does increase the amount you regen, both passively and through Mana Tea, crit both helps your healing throughput and your regen, so it's better to just go for crit after multi-strike. Afterwards, just versatility, which is just flat bonus to healing, but it's really, really small. Then haste, which is not that useful. It does increase your hot ticks, but they don't do a huge amount, and it doesn't make them proc anything for you. And your casted spells, it helps you cast Uplift faster, but that's not all that useful. And these 2 spells, Surging Mist and Enveloping Mist, when you cast Sealing Mist, you can cast them instantly. So you don't actually need to cast them, making haste pretty ineffective. And then Mastery is your worst stat, secondary. It just gives you a higher chance to summon these little orbs on the ground, and what they do is, if someone runs through them, it heals them. The thing is, a lot of people don't look at them, they don't see them, so they don't, it just kind of goes to waste, and they don't do that much anyway. Plus, let's see these little orbs right here, plus it just doesn't heal that much. So, Mastery, not very good. Okay, for gear, you want your tier 18, 2 and 4 piece from Hellfire Citadel. Boosts your healing a lot, and gives a little more depth to your healing rotation, which I will get to in a bit. The 2 piece gives you a buff called Extend Life on anyone you cast Renewing Mist on. So the people that jumps to do not get it, but if you cast Renewing Mist on someone, it gives them a big buff, and it makes you do 15% extra healing to that person for 12 seconds. And the 4 piece makes it so that when you use your chi on Enveloping or Uplift, the people that have that buff get extra healing from it, even if they weren't the targets. So it just increases your throughput, and it kind of makes you think a little bit more carefully about who you put your Renewing Mist on. Okay, so in other words, basically, anyone who has Extend Life with your 4 piece, they get extra healing when you use Uplift or Enveloping Mist. As far as trinkets go, you want the Leech Trinket from Zul'Horak. It's definitely your best one. You won't see it in your numbers because it just puts Leech, but because you have your hot jumping around everywhere, it gives people Leech, which makes them heal themselves, and it kind of just helps the raid healing out a lot. Again, you won't see it in your numbers. There are add-ons you can download to track that, which I actually don't use, but it's really good. I have the Mythic Trinket from Blackrock, from Blast Furnace. It's Elementalist Shielding Talisman. If you want a throughput, there is, in Blackrock, off Blackhand, the Crucible. Oh well. But there's a DPS trinket basically, and it's got crit and intellect, so it increases your throughput a lot, and again, crit does help your regen, so you don't really need the spirit. You can use that as well. As far as for progression from HFC, you can also use off of Socrathar, the Demonic Phylactery. The haste isn't that great, but it does reduce the mana cost, and the only reason this is good is in progression. If you're really struggling for mana, it's good for mana. Otherwise, throughput wise, not very useful. Intuition's gift, again, the spirit not great, the crit's nice. It's on a 1.5 minute cooldown. It's like a mini cooldown if you need. The class trinket is actually not, it's not terrible, not great. It just turns your channeled spell into kind of an AoE spell around the target. Not the best though, so generally it's something from Blackrock, if you can get one on mythic difficulty, like from a cache or mission or something, and then the leech trinket. And so basically, for gear, make sure you're prioritizing multi-strike and then crit, and those are going to be your two top stats. Alright, let's go ahead and get to the rotation, the exciting bit. Healing into the list, it's really less about like a set rotation, and more so about like a priority system, based on the damage your raid is taking at the time. Okay, I'll start with a single target healing priority, and then I'll go into AoE. The first thing to remember is that while you're channeling Soothing Mist, again like I mentioned, your Surging Mist is instant, and so is your Enveloping Mist. And those are your two main spells. So you channel Soothing Mist, and then you will, Searching Mist a couple times as you need, and then if you need more health or healing, go ahead and use Enveloping Mist, and then continue using Surging Mist. Okay. So go ahead and start. Basically, you want to start build chi as you can. First thing you want to do is basically use Expel Harm on cooldown. It's really useful. It's cheap. It heals you or the person if you use it as a glyph, and gives you a chi, and then you can start channeling. Channeling Soothing Mist, and then use Enveloping Mist when you need that extra healing. Once you put Enveloping Mist on, make sure you keep channeling because it does buff the amount that the channel heals. And once you have your 2-piece from Hellfire, make sure you cast Renewing Mist before all of this because that'll buff the amount of healing that person takes as you do all this stuff. If the target's taking a huge amount of damage, you can use Life Cocoon, and then continue with with channeling Soothing Mist and Surging Mist into the Enveloping Mist. Don't forget Life Cocoon does buff the HOTS, so Renewing Mist and the Enveloping Mist will get 50% more healing while the Cocoon is on. As soon as the boss breaks it or it expires, that's going to be gone, but it's a nice cooldown if they really, really need it. If you really, really have to save a tank with a huge heal, you can use Thunder Focus Tea, buff the Surging Mist, but it's really better for AoE heals generally. Okay, and that is generally single healing, single target healing. It's not super complicated. Just keep the channel up, build chi through either Surging Mist or Expel Harm, which is cheaper, and then spend chi on Enveloping Mist when you need it. Okay, for raid healing, the trick is about you gotta just apply your Renewing Mists before the damage comes out, and on the people who need it. Build chi using Renewing Mist and Expel Harm still if you need, or if you really have to, you're out of stacks, for example, of Renewing Mist. You can use Soothing and Surging Mist to build chi as well. And then as soon as the damage hits, the big damage hits, then you use Uplift, and that will generally help heal up your raid really, really quickly. It's got huge heals. You can heal practically everyone with it, which kind of breaks the limitations of other healers who can only hit like, certain groups or have to like apply it to everyone. So it's all about pre-applying the Renewing Mist. If you have to use Renewing Mist during the damage, you're wasting time and globals, which is basically you'll be losing out to other healers, and you may actually lose people because you're wasting time. Thunder Focus Tea is really useful in Renewing Mist because it gives you 5 stacks. So if you can use that to get more people covered with less casts. Really useful. Generally, use it when you know you need to blanket the raid, and do it early. Okay. If there's a lot of damage, of course, you can use Revival, your big 3-minute cooldown. Generally, let your raid leader tell you when he wants that. It's an instant heal, so unlike Tranquility or Divine Hymn or Healing Tide, you don't have to put it like a little bit early or start. You can wait till the damage is really rough and then just pop it, and it's a huge heal, hits pretty much everyone in 40 yards, and that's it. It's very simple. Do be careful about the dispel. Sometimes there are weird things like on Hellfire High Council. You don't necessarily want to dispel everything, so just be careful about that. But other than that, everything else should be fine in Hellfire. Um, if the raid is stacked or in a line, you can use Chi Burst again as a mini cooldown for AoE healing. And then, of course, if you have enough mana, you can rush in Jade Wind. If your people are stacked up enough. Remember, if you hit at least 3 people with it, you do get a chi from it, so it's really nice. Always remember to have your Jade Serpent statue out all the time. So when you channel in Soothing Mist, it will channel, and it's just extra healing for free. Just make sure it's in range of people that need it. So just kind of make sure it's not out in the middle of nowhere. Okay. If you took Power Strikes, just remember you get extra chi every 15 seconds, so just keep an eye on the chi sphere that drops if you have an extra one, or just keep an eye on extra chi that's popping into your bar. And then if you took Chi Brew instead, you can use it during times of periods of high damage to get extra uplifts out. So for example, like during Pound on Cormrock or Pounding on Iron Reaver, you could, if you flank it at the raid already, and you've already cast your 2 uplifts from a full bar, you can then, use a Chi Brew or 2 if you want, and then cast 2 more for even more AoE healing without really using like a big cooldown. So basically for AoE, just pre-hop the damage with Renewing Mist, make sure you get it out on people who need it, let it jump. Make sure, I always wait to cast Renewing Mist until it ticks once and I see it jump, because sometimes it'll jump to the target that I just tried to put one on, which actually overwrites and is really bad. And can waste your stacks. And then uplift for the damage. As you use chi, you build these mana T stacks, so when you need mana, go ahead and use it, gain mana back, and then keep healing. Okay? And I'll go ahead and show you how this is applied in real time. So I'll start with the single target heal rotation, if you will. So I'll just use this dummy. So again, I'll use Expel Harm, get one, or Chi-Chi here because I have Power Strikes. I'll start channeling, and I'll use a Surging Mist, and then I want more healing, so I'll Enveloping Mist here. And just keep healing like that. Now because I have the tier set, I can actually apply Renewing Mist, giving it that buff, Extend Life. Expel Harm's off cooldown. I need big heal, so Enveloping Mist, use that Chi, and then just Surging Mist. Okay, and then I wait till Enveloping is gone, and then use it again. And I see now Extend Life has dropped, so I'm going to reapply that. And you just keep going like that. If you need the heal, drop a big Life Cocoon on them. Obviously this dummy takes a lot of damage, so it just expired instantly. But this is single target healing. If you really want to, you can use Thunder Focus. See, I won't here for the sake of cooldown. That's single target. You can switch to whoever you need. I only have one target right now. Switch to me. And that's just how you go. Now you see as I do this, as I'm spending the chi, I have mana T stacks. So if I'm going out of mana, just channel it as far as I need, and I can stop whenever. So you can preserve stacks for later too. Okay? Okay, so here we are in LFR. Let's give a little demonstration of raid healing. I'll just be using the regular one. Fistweaving will come later in the video. So this is our tank, and he'll be taking most of the damage. I'll put a Renewing Mist on. I already have my statue down. I'll just channel on him for a little bit. You see, my statue's healing this person. And I say, okay, so I'm probably gonna need some AoE heal, so I'll use Thunder Focus T, Renewing Mist, and let it kind of jump. See this jumps? Okay, now I can put it safely because I know it's on a limit. Some raid damage will uplift. Maybe channel on this person now because the DK's not taking much damage, but I do want it hot on the tank always. It's always good to have, and let it jump around. And you can use Surging Mist while you channel. And here, so we don't have, this damage is a little random, it's trash, I'm not as used to it, but try to apply some things, some Renewing Mists, get uplifts up as I go, Expel Harm, another uplift, channel a little bit, heal with Surging Mist, uplifts, or Renewing Mists, and then uplift again. And keep this guy up, and then just keep rolling these Renewing Mists so that they jump, and let them jump, and then uplift. Uplift, more Chi, and Expel Harm here. Put a hot on this guy, put Extend Life on him, because he's taking a lot of damage. Or for LFR anyway. Other tank as well. And then we'll just keep, stun, so I can break this actually, because I am a monk with Nimble Brew. Put Extend Life back on this guy, I don't know what those are, I don't know why that's there. And then just again, replying Renewing Mists. I have enough chi. Just kind of uplift a couple times. Maybe put a little single target healing in here. And now maybe I'm a little worried, right? So I'll Life Cocoon him. Renewing Mists. And generally that was a little bad because you saw he already had one. As long as if it's about to expire, you can put one on someone who has one. But generally, try to put it on someone who doesn't have it so that you don't waste a stack of it. Some more uplifts because I'll see rate damage. Just pick them up real quick because now there's not that many people who are damaged. A little lower on mana, so mana tea up a bit here, full mana. Put extend life / renewing mist on him. And then just heal this hunter over here. And you don't always have to be spamming Surging Mist. It's more healing, but if there's not that much damage going out, you can just let it channel. And maybe he's taking damage, I'll put enveloping on him actually now. And keep channeling on him. Get those extra heals. I see as that heal debuff. Okay, and then just get more hots rolling. I'll move over here with that roll, Chi Torpedo, see what's going, killing this hunter here. I'll put enveloping on him, make sure he doesn't die. And then keep channeling Soothing Mist. And then just Renewing Mists. Make sure they're up on people and let it jump a little bit. Again, if you're going to reapply while it's jumping, just make sure you let it jump, and right as it jumps, right after it jumps, then apply one to someone. Just to make sure it's not wasted. Like, see this jumps, maybe it'll jump to this guy. I was thinking about putting one on him, it would have wasted 2 stacks. Okay, and that is basically it. I didn't really use Cheebos because we're not really stacked as much. We'll see if Celifar decides to stack. Hopefully they'll pull soon. I'll put my statue down here in the middle because I know we're going to bounce between here. That's how people do this fight normally. We'll bounce between the 2 points, so I want it in range of people. Okay. There's nothing special in the pool because you're not DPS. You don't have to pre-pot unless you want to. Do a little damage.
5, 4,
For now I'm just going to focus on the healing.
2, 1.
Okay, don't know what he's doing over there. Go ahead and heal him. They bloodlusted, so there's not much damage right now. You could be Fistweaving if you wanted to, which again you will we'll get to in a bit. The demonstration. So any little damage here. This guy has a lot of stacks, so I want to heal him up. Put that enveloping and keep channeling. So I put the extend life on, and then channel, then surging and enveloping mist. Move away from this. And just start getting that little spread on. So he's doing this AoE kind of thing now. I'm gonna move, use that roll to move. Oops, there's fire here. And just get a little AoE spread on the Renewing Mists. Uplift to heal. Renewing Mist on this little tank. And then just channel. So I don't have to cast anything right now. Get some more mists going. Another uplift here. This guy has stacks, so maybe I'll put a hot on him. As it launch it jump. Expel harm. I have enough chi, I can uplift. Just want to make sure when you uplift that just the people that need the healing have the Renewing Mist buff. Otherwise it won't heal them, which makes it useless. This guy's taking a lot of damage, so I'll just keep healing him for now. This guy's also sitting in a bunch of stuff. And then just kind of change your healing, use your spells based on what damage is coming out. So the cool thing about Monk is you don't always have to like be stuck in one style of healing. So here maybe he's taking a lot of damage. Enveloping Mist. Alright. Oh, Shadow fell soon. Oh, Shackles, so I'll put heal to people that need it. So I actually just overwrote one, which is really bad. But you want to get a lot of healing out here. And so you want to get your mists rolling and then start uplifting. Right, heal this guy up and heal this guy up as well. He's taking some damage. You're going to get out there. Move with their roll, your movement stuff. Maybe extend life on him and then just channel. And this guy's taking a bit of damage, so I might want to heal him too. Enveloping, so you have those burst single targets and then you say, oh well there's a fair amount of damage, let me move some mists over and I'll uplift. Extend light, or expel harm. Get some mana back. So now we're more stacked, maybe I want to do a little damage, a little healing here, so I'll chi burst. Apply some dots, or hots rather. Thunder Focus Tea, so I get a bigger one, so it's 5 stacks, starts jumping around. Expel harm, more chi. Some AoE going on, so definitely want to be uplifting here. Now this guy is taking a lot, so I'll go ahead and life cocoon him just to be safe. We're gonna move, so let's go ahead and move the roll. And so on. So I'll go ahead and cut the commentary here, you kind of get the idea of how it works. Just switch between AoE and single target as you need.
2, 1.
Building chi and then spending it either on enveloping for single or uplift for AoE. So that's generally how you heal. Use your spells. Of course, you can revival in AoE if you need. And I'll go over and go ahead and talk about the rotation and spells for Fistweaving, which is something a lot of people talk about, don't really understand. But just thought I'd give you a demonstration. It's not that good right now. It doesn't heal very much, doesn't do a huge amount of damage, but it's pretty fun. So if you're just doing a farm fight and you're not really like progressing, just want to have a good time with it, you can do this. It does a decent amount. You'll heal okay. We've talked about talents before. If you want to do more healing for whatever reason in Fistweaving, go ahead and use Chi Explosion and use it at 4 Chi. Does AoE heals and drops a bunch of healing orbs around you. But general for more damage, since that's what you would be doing in Fistweaving, Pool of Mists again. I definitely recommend, if you want, you can Fistweave during periods of low damage, just to help your raid do a little extra damage, and then you can switch back to regular healing when it goes really hard. So first, the spells. You gotta have your Jade Serpent statue, because that's what actually does the healing when you're Fistweaving. When you're doing damage, it takes that damage and it heals people with it. Okay, so first thing you want to do, be in the stance of the Spirited Crane, which as you can see, changes my bars. So it has its own action bar, so you have to reset that. Okay, and you've got your, of course you have Expel Harm still, for building Chi. And what it does is it heals you, and it does damage based on that heal. So make sure you're actually healing something with it, so that it does damage. Build Chi with that, and then your next Chi builder is Jab. Jab is very simple, does a little damage, builds 1 Chi for you. Or in this case, if you have Power Strikes, of course, every 15 seconds, that will give you an extra Chi. Okay, and those are your 2 builders. So in order to use Chi, you have Tiger Palm, which costs 1, and it gives you a buff that makes you ignore armor on the boss or target. And you want to make sure you always have that up. And for 2 Chi, you can use Black Hat Kick, and it gives you a buff that makes you increase your crit chance by 20% for 20 seconds. And also, when you heal with it through Fistweaving, it heals 4 targets rather than just the 1. And then you've got Rising Sun Kick, which also costs 2, does the most damage, and applies a debuff to the target and all targets within 8 yards to take 20% more damage from your abilities. Okay. And then you've got Touch of Death, which I mentioned earlier. It costs 3 Chi, and it just does your health pool, your max health pool, to the enemy. You either have to have more health than them, or if it's like a boss, you can have, if they're under 10%, you can use it. In order to make the most use out of it, you use Fortifying Brew first, because it increases your max health pool, which makes this do more. Okay. So you can actually use it while you're healing as well, but again, it's not really your priority. If it really needs it, if the raid really needs that push, you can use it and still, again, use Fortifying Brew before. Okay, so basically, Fistweaving is just about keeping all your buffs up, so apply your buffs and your debuffs, and then just keep building and spending Chi on Rising Sun Kick, which is your hardest hitting ability. And then using the cooldowns you get from talents, so if you want Chi Torpedo, for example, using that, generally, the short jump, or using Rushing Jade Wind when you can, if you're not going from it, using Chi Burst for AoE, and then for single target for Fistweaving, you can go if you really want to. I would generally just stick with Chi Burst because it's good for healing as well. But if you're just going straight out damage, Zen Sphere does the most single target if you let it explode. So make sure though you let it stick on for 16 seconds, because you can use it every 10. But you want to keep it on for 16, let it blow up, and then reapply it. Takes a little more management, and if they get out of melee range, you might miss the explosion, which is most of the damage. So if that's the case, you can also use Chi Wave, which is just a little easier, fire and forget, decent for single target, but generally Chi Burst for AoE or cleave. And then here you can actually use Rushing Jadewind for AoE damage, and it only does damage when you're in this stance. It does not heal. But it does generate a chi if you hit at least 3 things. And then if there's 3 or more things, or 3 or less things rather, I'm sorry, use Zuen, the White Tiger, for DPS cooldown. Okay. So as you spend chi in the stance of the Spirited Crane, you gain the stack of Vital Mist, which is the buff, and it makes your Surging Mist cast faster, 20% faster. So when you get to 5 stacks, like so, you get an instant one, and it also makes it free. So you can cast it on anyone you want, and it gives you a chi still, just like it does normally. So make sure you don't waste those stacks, because there is a little extra healing. It does build the chi, so it's nice to use. But technically it doesn't actually help your damage. But it is free, and again it helps your mana management, so try not to waste those stacks if possible. If you don't want to waste stacks, so say you get to 4 stacks, you can use Tiger Palm instead of the other ones because it only gives you 1 stack. These 2, Rising Sun Kick and Blackout Kick, give you 2 each. Alright. So, I'll go ahead and show you how to Fistweave so you can get a feel for the thought process and rotation. And then I'll go over a little bit more for like add-ons and macros, and then I will try to get into a quick group for LFR or something just so I can show you the raid heal, single target heal, and show you that thought process more clearly. Alright, so for Fistweaving, we're going to start by, let me get rid of my cheat first because it's like cheating. Alright. Okay, so first you're going to start with Expel Harm. Okay. Build chi through jab. Now get Tiger Palm up first, and then Blackout Kick. And so the yellow one is Blackout Kick buff. Green one over here is Tiger Palm, and the red one is Rising Sun Kick. And then the next thing would be make sure you get your Rising Sun Kicks going. It gives that debuff and does the most damage. Alright, so maybe I'll do some AoE. I'll Chi Burst here. I see, oh hey, I got Vital Mists. Get rid of that. I have, oh, Tiger Palm's up. Get that buff up. Now I need Blackout Kick up because I just lost that. And now I have Vital Mist. Maybe I heal somebody with it, and then go back to DPSing. Rising Sun Kick, just that's your filler kind of when you spend your chi. And just keep going like that. If you had AoE, you could Chi Torpedo, you could Rushing Jadewind or Zuen. But for now, I see Tiger Palm's dropped off. Okay, get rid of that Vital Mists. Don't want to waste it. Oh, see my crit buff is dropped off, so Blackout Kick. And now back to Rising Sun Kick for a little while. Vital Mist. Now again, if you just want a DPS, you could actually just ignore it. And just keep going with it. Rising Sun Kick. Oh, Tiger Palm's almost up. Tiger Palm. 8 seconds on crit buff, so for now keep Rising Sun Kicking. Just make sure you have enough time, always, so it doesn't actually drop off. You never want these things to drop off, if possible. Chi Burst is up, so maybe I'm doing AoE, right? Chi Burst, alright, and then just keep going. Rising Sun Kick. Oh, Tiger Palm's up. Let's get rid of this. Let's heal someone real quick. A Blackout Kick, get that crit buff, and then just keep going like that. In this case, the only thing you would use Thunder Focus Tea on, if you need to, is for extra heals on somebody. Again, because it still buffs this, so you could Thunder Focus Tea and then do a big fat heal. Oh, and then we've got, okay, crit buffs coming off, Tiger Palms coming off, and then back to Rising Sun Kick. So jabs to build, Expel Harms to build, and then Rising Sun Kicks. Just keep an eye on your buffs, manage your buffs, get rid of your Vital Mist stacks, crit, coming off, make sure these things stay on. I see, oh hey, Expel Harm's coming off, so I'll use that instead of jab. And then, Tiger Palm, rebuff that, get rid of Vital Mists, crit buff, keep an eye on that. And you don't have to reapply as often as I am right now, but just make sure it never falls off. And then just Rising Sun Kick to drop. Okay, and that is how you Fistweave. Now again, not the most healing, not the most damage. If you need mana, you can Mana Tea, of course. And yeah, it's kind of a fun little bit you can do. If your raid's not taking damage, or if they're so good on the healing that you just want to mess around a bit. In general, you want to heal normally. Now, as far as add-ons and macros, I don't actually use any macros for healing. I do use this mouse over macro for Fistweaving, for Surging Mist, which I'll show you here. It's not super important too. It's just this, and it allows me to, instead of clicking on someone and saying I want to heal because I want to, if I'm DPS and I want to focus on that, I just move over, hit them with it, and then It just heals them. Not that important. I just like using that, and again, Fistweaving is not the most common thing you'll be doing. Alright, and then add-ons, I actually don't use that many. As you saw, I had a bunch of buff like timers, so if you're Fistweaving a bunch, it's really important to have trackers for those. I use power auras, and I have a bunch of this stuff. But for healing, normally I don't really need it. I just use default default raid frames from Blizzard, and I just click on those and heal what I need to from that. So I don't actually use any. I know some people do, but I don't, so I don't know how to use those. But you don't need any more. Blizzard is a little buggy right now. Sometimes if anyone like joins in combat, make sure to reload, or anyone leaves or joins in combat, reload your UI because it bugs out. But that's what I use. I will put the macro and links add-ons like power auras, which I use, and other ones like weak auras and TellMeWhen in the description below. Alright. If you like this video, feel free to drop it a like. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more videos like this. Leave a comment if you need. And let me know if you'd like to see more videos like this. Thanks for watching, guys, and I hope it helped.